I'm going to call to order at 6:35. First order of business is to approve last our last meeting on the 29th. Let me pull those up. Um, and give people a few minutes to. Can you see that okay? You want me to blow it up or can you?
It's all right.
Looks
So
fine.
we have the reorg. Oh, we have the chair, vice. Approve the minutes with one change. Discussed our meeting dates. When to invite department heads, subject to change. There's a question about how the CapEx town budget is calculated. Marine wanted to make sure that all liaisons got invites, which I believe they are. Reviewed updates on the FY26 projects, and then we adjourned.
I move we approve the minutes.
I second
Second.
that.
Okay. Roll call. Those in favor of approving minutes. Sam,
Yes.
Shane,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay. Okay, so that's the only old business we have. We have the library and the school department with us tonight to go over their request. I forwarded the backup information we received earlier to the committee members. Tracy's here. Tim O'Brien was here
Phil,
first on Tuesday.
can I ask you, does that get shared with FinCom?
Hi, Bill. What was that?
Do you share that with FinCom? I haven't seen anything.
I did not share it with FinCom. No, I shared it with the committee members.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
that
I can start. Yeah, in my couple of years as chair, we've never shared the original, but we'll make sure you get it. I was going crazy. They changed the email system, which I was late to the party about, so it took me a while to get logged back onto my capital planning email today. So by the
okay?
time I got it, I rushed to get it to the committee. So
All right,
I
kind
can.
of flying blind here. So Joe Bertrand's not on the meeting, Phil?
He doesn't appear to be.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like it's just you from FinCom.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Um, we're just seeing the master list. We're not that far ahead of you, Bill. I promise you that. We saw it today for the first time this
Okay.
afternoon. So yeah, we haven't reviewed it as a group yet. So we'll be doing that tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. So why don't we start with the school department? We have Tim O'Brien and Christine Bufagna. Is the G silent? I should know.
Bafanya.
Bufagna.
My husband says it's like lasagna.
Lasagna, Bufagna. Okay, there. Now I'll never forget it. So that's the go.
Right.
Relate anything to food, and I'll remember. So,
There you go.
um, okay, hold on. Let me take off the minutes. We have the tiered list that was provided. So why don't I pull that up? And then you're welcome to you school department. The floor is yours.
Sounds good. Good evening. Thank you all for having me back. I recognize a lot of faces, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tim O'Brien. I'm the Director of Facilities for Wakefield Public Schools. This list is compiled through a sort of a group effort. So, all of these requests don't come from, my department, the facilities department exclusively. These are things that we discuss with all our department heads and school leadership. So just to give you that off the bat, we'll start in tier one, and I'll run through unless anybody needs to stop me for any reason, questions or anything like that. I'm happy to oblige. So in tier one, these aren't, within tier one, these aren't prioritized. This is just a, random order. We'll start at the Greenwood Elementary School with a feasibility study for $85,000. This is something that would be sort of like a ground layer of investigating what needs to happen at Greenwood to make sure that we are ADA accessible and all those things. And really the framework for looking down the line at submitting a statement of interest to the state, looking at what our possibilities are in the future for renovation or, some sort of a project down the line at Greenwood. Naturally, it's an incredibly old building, old infrastructure, no elevators there. So just a lot of things to consider, and we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to consider every angle of that moving forward. So that would allow us to bring a company in to do a feasibility study, look at how many students we have enrolled, and how we are best serving them and what that looks like on the road. Moving down to a district-wide ask. This, some of you will remember, is connected to a major upgrade that we did in our camera infrastructure just a couple of years ago, thanks to the Capital Committee. We were able to bring a Genetec camera system into the district, which is a great add-on for us. We've used it, just a ton. It's really improved security for us in the school system. And so this Genetec card reader infrastructure is an add-on to that software. We are currently functioning with WinPack for our doors, our software for doors, so that that gives access to our employees. It also you can adjust timing for how long, when you buzz into a door, how long that door stays unlocked. So we can fine tune our security preferences in this software. The software that exists is a Windows 95 product. So we are way behind on that. We have no security measures when it comes to our current card reading infrastructure. So our cards, the badges that we wear are very easily copied. So we're just trying to get into a much more secure infrastructure. This was something that was recognized when we did our security review a few years ago with the Ed Davis Company. So it's a weakness that we would like to fix. There is no encryption in our current system, where we would be moving to a much more advanced system with Genetec, and it would tie into the camera infrastructure as well. So we'd be able to see the cameras and door software under the same umbrella. It groups everything together in a product that's called Security Center, and puts everything in one place, which is sort of a best practice when it comes to school security these days. Moving down to another district-wide ask for that's $100,000 for an activity bus. An activity bus, what that means to us in the school is a 14-passenger. It's a smaller bus. You'll see we have two of them currently in the high school parking lot. One is just a couple of seasons old. The other is aging rapidly. We do have folks who use these on a daily basis through the school year. They support smaller field trips. They support athletics. They also support our School to Life program, who takes their students on shopping trips and things of that nature, providing them life skills. So these are really important vehicles for us, and we would definitely put this to use immediately. So that's a big need for us right now. Moving down, another district-wide ask. This is $60,000 for network switches. This is not going to encompass that whole project, but this is what we think will get us a start in the game. This is to begin to sort of bolster our network infrastructure. As time wears on and things advance in the tech world, we've just fallen behind a little bit. What we found is this will be able to, improving our network switches will be able to help us out with, for example, at the Galvin Middle School, we do MCAS testing, and each and every student will get a Chromebook to perform that testing on. a lot of times what we find is that once we put all those students on the network, it bogs everything down incredibly. So an upgrade like this will enable us to sort of streamline that testing and kind of get the bugs out when it comes to things of that nature. But in general, it's sort of a maintenance thing. We want to stay with the times and make sure we're doing what we can to support our students through our wireless network. Moving down to tier 2, you'll see an ask that we've talked about before. We have a non-functional fly system in the Galvin Auditorium. That's a $350,000 ask. That would be, currently, the original equipment at Galvin was an automatic fly system. We would be looking to switch to a manual fly system. It's the computer portions of this fly system that we have that aren't functioning now, which is why we're looking to eliminate that. I think anybody's first natural question would be, well, what are we installing in the new high school auditorium? And that is a semi-manual fly system in the new auditorium. There are some automatic components, but it's not similar to what was originally installed at Galvin. So what we're looking to do is have students who are at Galvin learn the manual system, and then as they come up through the ranks to the high school, the new high school, they will know what they're up against. They'll have some training and be able to work this new fly system that we'll have at the high school, if that makes sense. And then
Tim, if I could just interject, not to interrupt, but I just also wanted to let the committee know that this would dramatically impact the revenue stream for the facilities rental for the Galvin Auditorium. Tim can speak a little bit about, we have groups that reach out, but once they hear that we don't have a functional fly system, we're not as advantageous to rent from. So right now we don't have enough money in that revolving account to pay for something like this, but this would dramatically impact that revolving account moving forward.
Yep. So yeah, naturally we try and cover a lot of our expenses when it comes to, rentable facilities like an auditorium. We do have a revolving account, but generally speaking, we would never be able to reach this level of funding in that account, just based on the expenses that the regularly occurring expenses year over year, to pay custodians for those rental events, to we try to keep things painted and updated and to keep us in business, really, because that's what that is for us. The rental accounts, it's a revenue stream. So we try to do the best we can to reinvest into ourselves and to keep our facilities respectable and rentable. But Christine's absolutely right there.
If I may interrupt here, just for my own information, the fly system, what is it?
So the fly system is what you see displayed in front of you, curtain and rigging and things that, you can lower and hoist with it. It's basically our ability to kind of put on a show, really, from what I understand from the performing arts folks.
This came up last year,
Yes,
as I recall, and it was non-functional then. Is that true?
that's true.
Yeah. Do you need a professional to run this, or can a student operate the system when it becomes fully manual?
The students will absolutely be able to run it, and that's really the big portion here, because that's a big part of their training when it comes to performing arts. This is a skill set that we want them to come out of middle school, if they're participating in the program, with that skill set. So yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Moving down to tier 3, we're at the Walton School, door number 6. The door enclosure and the door itself all need to be replaced. This is something that we're starting to look at now. The school was updated in 2018. This door was not included in that remodel. Just for anyone who that might be the first thing that comes to your mind. So there's, we're beginning to see some rust occurring, and there's just some concerns for down the line that could become an issue. That's a $15,000 ask. Um, and that is it for our list. Happy to take any questions you might have.
Thanks, Tim.
Of course.
Do we have any questions from the committee?
Yeah, I have a couple. Okay, first, just to make sure I heard right, the activity bus is replacing an existing bus that's aging out.
So we would actually be able to, I think we wouldn't go one for one on this one. I mean, depending on when this new bus came in, I believe the older bus of the two that we have in circulation right now is a 2014. So it's not, ready for the boneyard right now, but we do have a need for a third bus.
Okay, so this is an expansion of
Exactly.
service and
Yes.
not just a replacement. Okay. And then the feasibility for the Greenwood, uh, what has been the discussion with uh, Ways and Means and administration and with the school committee about um, going down that road? Um,
Sure.
because obviously feasibility, leads to then the next thing. And it's a long step with a lot of years, but before I think we agree to like kick off that step with trying to approve funding for this, I think making sure that we're in step with what the other discussions from other boards is, I think is important for us to know.
So I could answer that. So, Sam, thank you for that question because it's come up with school committee. It's come up with our subcommittees as well as the full committee because the new high school isn't even open yet. We're
Mhm.
still in the throes of that construction. But if you attend any of our budget meetings or our school committee meetings, space is an issue for the school department, particularly at the elementary school level. And then particularly ADA questions for the Greenwood always come up. So we're trying to be thoughtful of the length of that process that you just spoke about. We could potentially be talking about 10 years from now. So we just thought we would start the process about a feasibility study about what that would look like. But yes, we understand. I mean, we have discussed this with the town. The superintendent has. We've discussed this with school committee, and I know people are a little hesitant right now because of the funding for the new high school. But we just really have to be thoughtful about this process and how long it takes to get even into the pipeline for that. But we're really concerned about ADA accessibility at Greenwood, particularly being a neighborhood school. So, and the upkeep that Tim could speak about for that school. But we really thought putting this on here and kind of starting that process would be step one.
Okay. Um, and then the fly system, I'm trying to find the old your request from last year.
Mhm.
Um, but was that more than that? I felt like that was a bigger number last year.
I didn't change the value this year.
Okay.
I felt like, things do increase in value as, we all
Yeah.
see year over year. But I think that I was trying to keep it at the same level and thinking about, if anything had changed, we might be able to float it on our end through that revolving account that we were speaking of.
When I was looking at it, I had a memory of it being 450, and I was wondering why it had gone down, but I was like, that also probably isn't right. Because going down by 100,000 seems crazy to me.
Right.
Okay. I think those were the main things. The
Because
other tech
we
things
also
I followed.
speaking of the fly system, we recognize that the new high school is going to be desirable for rentals. It's going to be the newest school in town, and it's
Mhm.
going to have a functional fly system. So what that's going to do is put more pressure on the new high school. So we were just trying to be thoughtful about this is something that should have been fixed years ago in the Galvin. So in order to offset all the increased demand for the new high school, we thought we would have two functioning fly systems in the district because Tim and his staff get requests constantly to rent our facilities.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Frank.
Could you give me a couple of examples of who you rent out to?
Absolutely. So just I'll give you some at Galvin right now. We're renting to the Reading Symphony Orchestra. We're renting to the biggest one for us, and that season is upon us, is dance companies. We rent to probably a dozen different dance companies, and they start contacting us the day after their production this year. They'll start looking at renting for next year because it's a difficult thing to lock down. Even with all the schools in the area, it's incredibly busy, and it's a moneymaker for us. So, we're happy to oblige. Naturally, we'd be able to charge larger rates if we had a fully functional fly system, which would in turn help us revenue wise. So, those are just some of the considerations. Of course, the main focus is that our performing arts students get the most out of the program that they're enrolled in at the middle school level. This isn't all just about money. It's first and foremost, we're most interested in the kids and making sure that they get the full experience out of what is available to them and what's paid for through mom and dad's tax dollars. So that's the most important consideration. But then there are other benefits, like I mentioned, in the rentals.
What is the average rental fee?
So it depends on the space you're renting, but in an auditorium, a weekend in an auditorium for a dance company could run $4,000 or $5,000 easily. So that's what we're seeing over the course of a weekend in those areas. I mean, obviously you can rent smaller spaces, larger spaces, and things can change rapidly, but that's what you're looking at over a weekend.
And those rates get reviewed every year by school committee when we are talking about our budget. But you have to understand it also offsets the cost of the new custodial contract that was just settled last year because it has to pay for 4 hours of custodial overtime and utility costs and maintaining the building. So even if the rates go up, the costs go up.
Right. We also have other considerations, like if we hit a certain, I believe the number's 400. Once we have 400 people in the building, we've got to hire a fire detail and other things. So, we cut into that money rapidly, but
Yeah.
um, that's just a general ballpark figure.
Do you have a general sense of like what the useful life is of a fly system?
So as I understand, and I talked to Tom, I'm not really well versed in this area, but from what I hear from Tom Bankert, who's our director of performing arts, um, for the schools, is that, we should be getting at least 20, 25 years or more out of a system like this.
Okay.
But what I understand kind of happened here is the company who installed this no longer exists. So they installed it at the Galvin. The equipment began failing, and they were working with us at first, but then they disbanded. So we've tried to send components of this system out to be evaluated and give us, and nobody can really nail that down. And I've been with the schools now. I'm coming around the corner on 5 years, and this has been a big project of ours since day one. And really, we get no answers from folks, and everyone tells us basically you've got to replace that thing. So
Yeah.
that's why we find ourselves here.
Okay. Hopefully there's some sort of recourse. I'm sure that's been looked into.
We're
It's
digging.
just fun. Yeah.
How many vendors are there?
There's not many, Frank. So, and this is again information that I get from Tom Bankert is, a company will exist and be around for a few years, and then they close, and then another one pops up. So it's kind of like playing whack-a-mole, trying to track somebody down who can really help us in this arena.
Do you have a ballpark of like how many shows do we turn down because we don't have a fly system, or rather, do they turn us down? But
Correct. It's probably around 10 a year.
okay,
Which in my head that starts to get significant when you're talking about somebody who might book with us for a week and do 3 rehearsals and over the course of a week at night, and then 2 shows on the weekend. You're
Mhm.
talking about something that could have brought in $7,000 to $10,000 in a week, and losing that, it hurts when it happens.
Definitely, yeah. Is there a big change, a big difference in capacity between the Galvin Auditorium and the new high school auditorium? The reason I ask is like I'm wondering, would there be a scenario where a smaller show, maybe like a dance company that does not need a fly system, tends to gravitate towards the Galvin, where the bigger shows that do need it gravitate towards the high school? And also just get a sense of like what the, I guess, market is out there. Like, is it truly going to be that like both auditoriums are just going to book up like crazy, or would there be some sort of transition?
Yeah, that's it. That's a great question. So at the Galvin, we're at about 750 seats. In
Okay,
the new high school, we're going to be about 100 seats less than that. So
interesting.
the new high school is going to be a much more technologically advanced, um, you know, auditorium based on, just the infrastructure that exists there. The catwalk is a little more impressive at the new high school. Naturally, it's going to be nicer because it's newer. It's going to be brand new.
Hmm.
I think that there's going to be a lot of interest in both spaces, but ultimately we'll be able to house more attendees at the Galvin.
Okay. All right.
And I had a question on, I think it was called the network switch.
Yes,
Could you,
sir.
could you just talk to me a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I asked, excuse me, Tom Eagling, who's the network manager for the IT department, to kind of give me a synopsis on why we're requesting this. And if you don't mind, I can read that to you. And
Sure. Yeah.
so he says we are updating aging network infrastructure, bringing the school systems up to date to match our new high school build. He's looking to increase bandwidth so that new equipment can take advantage of increased network speeds. He says the switches will provide network connectivity to all rooms and devices, projectors, laptops, and building security systems. There'll be an added ability to manage services and port configurations, which is a term that I'm not sure what that means, but I just want to make sure you know that. Um, so this will also contribute to a larger closet organization plan that they have. So they have a lot of sort of rat's nests when it comes to some of these network closets, and they're trying to reorganize and get everything wired correctly the way that it should be. So he says closet organization and switch replacement bring clarity and ease of understanding for maintenance and issue resolution. Also, battery backups to replace already failed units and ensure access to critical services during events like power outages. So I hope
Gotcha.
that provides a little bit more
No, it
context.
does. It
Yeah.
does. And would this be tied into any other projects like the greeter card? Does it work with that at all, or it's completely separate?
So it would support those systems, absolutely, because those are all systems that are tied to the network.
But we don't need the network switch for the new greeter card piece to work. Like they don't have to be together.
Correct.
You can get them separately.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Nope, thank you.
Of course.
But Tim, I think, like you said, this isn't going to fully fund the complete project because we're partnering with the town
Correct.
IT department
Yeah.
this is our portion of that.
Correct. This is the beginning of a larger
Yeah.
project, and we've been meeting with the town's IT department and working with Todd to make sure that the things that we do are, matching with the town and things where there's going to be
Right.
reciprocity there. We want to make sure that we're not doing anything that that doesn't sort of jive with the town side as well.
Right. And then I guess just the last question, and back to the fly system again. And I may have asked this last year actually. So it's not working, but what are we doing in the interim, right? So we still do rent it. We're obviously
We do.
losing some, but how are we making it work with a broken system?
Sure. So a lot of times you'll find us on real tall ladders, hanging streamers from a tall hanging wire.
Um,
We try to make the best of a difficult situation. And naturally, if we were to find that, let's say you approve this money and we get into it with the vendor, and the vendor comes in and as we get into the work, starts saying, well, we could make some of these portions of this system manual with some of the infrastructure that already exists. That would be the plan that we would roll with. We don't want to just say, hey, let's give us the latest and greatest. We want to use the equipment that we have to the best of the ability that we can. And if we could get this done cheaper, we would absolutely do that.
Gotcha. Nope. Thank you.
Of course.
Dan or Tracy or anyone, any other questions?
Bill, I have a question about the buses, if I can.
Go for it, Bill.
Okay, how you doing, Tim?
Doing well. Nice to see you, Mr. Budry.
Nice to see. Well, you don't see me, but nice to see you.
I saw you in the beginning of the meeting.
So you have two buses now, right? You said, would you say one of them's a 2014?
One of them's a 2014. That's a Chevy. One of them is a 2023, if I'm not mistaken. That's a Ford.
Okay.
Yes.
So likely, if you were to get this one within a couple of years, you're going to become, so 3 is the baseline you want to have in the fleet, right?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know what the life cycle is left on the 2014?
I'm hoping that we could get 3 to 5 years out of it.
Oh,
if,
okay.
If it continues to roll the way it is, it's not a bad unit. It's been well maintained.
Okay.
So I'd like to get, we'd like to get some more years out of it for sure.
Okay, good. As it relates to those IT related questions, I was going to ask, but I was glad to hear you say you're working, with Todd and the town infrastructure. Obviously, I know you guys endeavor to do that, but I think it's good to always remind people of that when you're talking about stuff like this, that
Absolutely.
you're working with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As a
Yep.
former town side employee and now coming over to the school side, it's always important to me to make sure that we're doing the best we can to stick with our partners at the town.
Yeah. Christine always reminds us. So that's good.
We all work for the W, as Doug would say.
That's
Yeah,
right.
there you go. Thank you.
Of course.
That just
Um,
reminded me too on the vans. Do you know how many miles are on each?
They don't have a ton of miles. The newer van, I think we're up to like 11,000 miles on the 23. I could be lying to you. I think we have high 60s on the older vehicle, but it's just been the past, I would say 3 to 5 years that activity has really picked up on these buses. When I first got over to the schools, you'd be lucky to see them leave the parking lot, twice, 3 times in a week. Now they're leaving 5 times a day. They're just constantly rolling.
That's because we can't get buses. So it's good that we have those. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bus company
So-
doesn't show up.
Shane, that's
So
great that you mentioned that because that's a struggle that we see every day. And that's a lot of the reason why you see the athletic teams using these constantly, driven by coaches and things of that nature.
So in terms of buses, we go out to bid for our transportation vendor every 3 to 5 years. And the only vendor to bid on transportation is NRT. It seems to be the only real transportation provider in town. But because some field trips, they can't afford the cost of a field trip bus, or one isn't available for all our athletic events, because with the new high school, a lot of our events have to be away games, away track meets. So the busing and the transportation has dramatically increased. And like Tim said, they get used during the school day by our School to Life program and just for field trips and all extracurricular activities. So they're constantly being used. It's almost like who reserves the bus first. So this would be really important to the school department to have a third. Now the lead time might be 6 to 8 months. We found out with the last time. So the sooner we would know about this, the better. to have this for the next school year.
Do you have 3 drivers that are qualified to drive these buses?
These are not CDL buses, so you don't need
Yeah.
any specific licensure for it, which is sort of the beauty of them.
So you could conceivably have, without any strain, 3 drivers ready to take 3 buses
At any
a
time.
particular-
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I
allowed
often
to-
find myself
be
in one.
clear, Tim, you mentioned coaches drive the buses and stuff, right? I'm not sure that's clear to everybody.
Yes,
Yes.
Right.
coaches, teachers.
Teachers, so it's
Okay.
not going
Yeah.
outside to get a bus driver. It's
Correct.
somebody on
Oh,
staff.
no. It's employees
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
are all quarried and
Yeah.
Would this save money at all for, not having to book as many buses with NRT, or is it just strictly kind of like a capacity thing?
So, we'd have to crunch some numbers, which would be Christine's expertise, but to look at exactly, this is more of an availability thing. I think if you looked at it, you'd probably find that it might be even money. If you did a 10-year study on what we spend, but I think it's more of an accessibility thing for us to make sure that we have them when we need them, and we don't have field trips that don't go off because we're not able to get transportation, things of that nature.
Okay.
Do you have a quote for this? Is this a hard number or estimate, or just a rough estimate?
The quote that we had was $92,000. It was a little bit of an older quote, so I dialed it up to 100, just accounting for kind of where we're at in the market. It looks I did some calling around in the past couple of weeks to find out what dealers that we've worked with in the past are getting for these buses, and we're right in that area.
Does it need to be modified in any way after you purchase it to make it a town of Wakefield vehicle with lettering or anything in the inside, cameras or any kind of infrastructure after you buy it that would be added on to that?
Negative. It will come fully outfitted and lettered to our preference.
Okay.
When does the fields for the high school become available?
Spring
Fall
2028, right?
Spring 2028?
I think it's fall.
Fall, you think?
I think it's through the summer they're going to need, is my understanding. I think it's fall
Okay.
sports will be the first teams, I think, planning to use it. They
Okay,
finish
so
early.
the entire
I'll
next
tell you.
school year, we still have
Absolutely. We're
these
still
issues.
traveling.
Okay.
Correct.
So we would have at least 1 year where there's a very obvious increase in demand.
Absolutely.
And then maybe the next year, maybe that older one, like when that goes, we don't have to talk about replacing it because maybe demand comes back down. But okay.
The card readers is district wide, correct?
Yep. That's every building, every access point will be replaced. All the background, the software will all be there. That's an all-encompassing price.
Last year you had requested security readers for the elevators of the Galvin that didn't get approved. Would this be able to take care of that as part of that project? If this were approved?
This would not this would be a 1-for-1 replacement of everything that exists.
Just existing. Okay,
Correct.
to update the readers of existing. Okay. How many seats are in the bus?
In the activity bus,
Yeah.
they're 14 passenger buses.
Oh, it's a 14 passenger. Okay. Okay. IT, town versus schools. Is there a difference? Because I know there's school budgets, there's town budgets. So the request is coming in from the school department and not the town IT department. And maybe this is a Joe Conway, or I don't know. Is that a difference? Like, is that in the
From what
IT world, anything we need to consider? It doesn't matter who's asking, right? It's all IT, but different personnel that you work with.
From what I understand, the town IT department would have a similar request, but I could be wrong. Tim, didn't we hear
Yeah,
that from the superintendent?
So I do know that Doug and our IT department met with Todd, and there was discussion about how this, naturally, Todd has interests in our IT, and they work with us to accomplish goals, and so this would be a project that we would work closely with the town on, of course. I'm not sure. I haven't seen Todd's capital list, so I don't know if he's also
He
requested.
hasn't submitted. Yeah,
Okay.
we haven't. Yeah, again, we just saw the list a little earlier, but there's nothing. The only IT requests are the two school WPS requests for the
Okay.
switch and the um, card readers. So I
Understood.
just was. Well, maybe they can pay for it out of some other way. Maybe there's a reason it's not on.
Okay. Well,
Um,
yeah, I do know that they had been meeting. I was not, a part of those meetings, but I do know that they had been
yeah.
meeting to discuss this. So,
Greenwood feasibility, in my other world, I'm on the permit building committee, but this seems like a project that would exceed $100,000. So I'm curious why this isn't going to the PBC instead of being a capital crest through the school, because I believe these projects are supposed to go through PBC, even feasibilities. If
okay.
it's going to exceed, if the project would exceed 100,000, if you read. So you may want to check. Joe Bertrand's not on tonight. He's on FinCom, but he's also the chair of Capital. Um, it's a question for the school department to talk if this is really a request that needs to go through PBC.
Understood.
Yep. And the fly system, I don't know what to say. It's a 10-year, 9-year-old system. It's a shame. The company, we looked into this last year. We got the specs from the Galvin project. There is a larger company that bought out the 45-year-old company that sold it. We've been around forever, buy our stuff, and then they
Yeah.
immediately got bought out. But there is a larger company. Who would be the person that's been in charge of getting that company? Because they do have a repair and maintenance request form. Like, who's been keeping track of how many people you've had out to make sure that it's not just a training thing. Maybe
Yep.
things are broken, maybe it's training. I know there's passwords. I know there it's all electronic, right? It's
So
all
that
so
company was in possession of the computer that operates this automatic fly system for the first 3 years of my employment with the town.
yeah.
And we had to fight to get it back from them. They weren't able to do anything for us. They couldn't come and see us. I mean, became kind of an issue. Um, and then we've since been trying to source a company that could maybe, work with us a little bit. And, Tom Bankert and I have been in kind of constant touch about this. And he definitely would be able to provide maybe a little bit more information on it, about who the other vendors we've engaged are. But that's been sort of the story with the existing
Yeah.
vendor.
And the main vendor, Wenger, whoever, I forget, I think it was like a Wenger or Clancy or something was the name it bought out. Like, just, it's a big ask. So just more of as a backup to, like, listen, we've tried all of these steps to troubleshoot. We've called, they
Sure.
stole our computer or whatever, whatever it is. Like, we've tried other companies that don't want to touch it. It might be proprietary, right? Like, it's like
Right.
Simplex Grinnell fire alarm stuff. You can't get other people to touch it. So,
Exactly.
that it's a big ask just because it's such a big ask for a rather new item. In
Yep.
relative speaking, it's only this Galvin's what just hit 10 years, maybe 12, 11 years,
11. I think we're at 11 now. Yeah.
11 now. So relatively speaking, it's not a very old system to be
Agreed.
replacing it for
100%.
350,000. So that's all. I understand the need and the request. I just was more questioning about, like, I don't want to jump to spend 350 if it could be repaired, obviously.
So what I'll do is I'll get with Tom tomorrow and kind of cue his records on because he's pretty good about that. And I'll send you sort of a timeline on who we engage, so at what time and why, those sort of things. If
Yeah.
I can, shed some
It
light on
just,
what we've been doing.
yeah, I don't know. It just, I'm curious. I don't know if anyone else in the committee is, but I think it would help with the discussion. Like we usually
Yeah,
go
I
on
think it's
back and forth with
it's
these.
it's
So,
definitely worthwhile.
I'm
yeah.
on it.
Any other questions? Oh,
I was just
sorry.
going to throw out, I don't know if we could leverage or not, if it's the same owners now. I know you said they've been bought by another company that's doing the high school. Maybe leverage them, say, hey, we're having you do the high school. How about you fix this middle school one? I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's a
This is
good
the salesperson
question.
in me that wants to negotiate, but
It's
I believe,
absolutely not
yeah,
this. Yeah, we wouldn't be bringing back that vendor
I
to.
don't believe it's the same.
No, it isn't.
okay. All
Yeah.
right.
I believe that
That
was
would be a
asked
great
recently.
that
Yeah.
would be a great piece of leverage, though. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, or like shy away of not using them, but
Exactly.
we don't have a lot of choice
Right.
when it comes to these public projects. You have
Yeah,
to
there
use who's
aren't
on the
many
list.
out there that
So,
can do it, but
yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
I'm
Thank
good.
you.
Sorry, I have one
Oh,
more very
sorry, Garrett. Yep. Go.
hopefully quick question for the network switch. And Phil touched on it. I'm trying to understand basically the remaining funding of it. So I guess my question is, what is the probability that the entire project will be funded through other departments or other means? And if it's not funded, is it the type of thing where like you can do 60K worth of upgrades, or is it like, no, we need to secure, 200K to do the entire project?
so I think it's the type of thing, the type of project that we can take bites out of. I think we can prioritize certain pieces of this project that need to be done right away, and then continue as we go. It's not something that has to all occur at once. And so naturally we'd be able to fund some of it through local budget, through revolving budget. But this is something that will really just kind of help us along.
Okay.
Any other questions? Comments? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all as always. I appreciate you listening.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank
us
you.
on. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Night.
Good luck, Catherine.
We have Catherine McDonald from the library. Catherine, you with us?
I am. Can you see me?
Yep. Yep,
Yep.
we can see you.
Yes, and we can hear you just fine.
You look
Yes.
good.
Hi. Good evening.
Hi. So I only have one request this year, and it's mostly because there isn't anything on our list that's less than $50,000. So we chose the thing that we need the most, which is cameras, a camera system. I don't have an exact estimate at this point. And I think that we may have some options. We have an existing camera system that was installed in 2016. And so those cameras are from 2016. And this says they're past their useful life. There's also 3 DVRs that are used for recording and storage. And then there's the software. It seems to me that the worst part of it all is the software. And so it doesn't always pick up what it's supposed to pick up when someone moves. These cameras are also on 3 floors and they're also outside. And sometimes the police department knows we have them and they may refer to them. So we may have some options in just replacing the software, but we don't know that because not every camera will take every software, and we can't get anyone to come out and actually look at it. So I spoke to Todd because we had looked at this project before and got bids that were between $40,000 and $90,000. So I said to Todd, "Do you think 50 will do it?" And he said, "Absolutely." And he also said that he would help us because he sometimes is buying in bulk or has had something. In fact, I think he maybe gave us these original cameras 10 years ago. So we would be getting it on his with his advice. So that's really all the information I have. I might be able to answer some questions, but aside from that, the things that were on the list are carpeting kinds of things and or big ticket items like a roof that we're going to need down the line. But those are things that we don't necessarily need this moment.
So I
Um,
was going to bring, you're referencing, I think, this sheet that
yes.
shows the next 4 fiscal years. So if everyone can see this, I can blow it up a little more.
There we go.
Everyone see that
Perfect.
okay?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. So Catherine's talking about this column here, 27 requests for the cameras. and then you broke it up into 4 fiscal years, into 2 columns for the next 4 fiscal years that, are looking pretty heavy.
Yeah,
So it would be it'd be a great exercise for the library to, maybe you must have this split out, um, just 28 to 32 and figure out what the spread is going to
right,
be on these next things. Would be
right.
interesting. But right now you're just looking for this 50 for this year for the camera software system.
Exactly.
Okay. Any
Um,
questions for Catherine? Or Catherine, do you have anything else? Sorry.
yeah, the only other thing I'll mention, and I think I said this last year, we get state aid when we're certified, we get state aid from the state, and we're using that for capital. So we've done a number of projects, and we're doing it pretty much on our own dime. So when I come to you with these, it's because I really don't have a way to fund this. So yeah, you can see I had put it there that we did the lecture hall over, and uh, we didn't have those key cards that people have to get into their offices. We didn't have those. And the keypads we had were failing. So we ended up getting that. We just put it out to bid and did some estimates, and we managed to do that in-house. So we are really trying to do as much as we can in-house. And this just seems a little bit beyond what we can do. In the event it's more than $50,000, we would probably be able to cover that or do the project in pieces so that the 50,000, it will either be less or it will be that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone in the committee have questions? Any questions for Catherine?
Uh, yes, I have a question. Um, you said something to the effect of that this was the only request that would fit under a $50,000. The way you phrased it, it sounded like there was a $50,000 cap put
No,
out there, and that's
no, it's that the only requests I have this year are 50,000 or more.
mhm.
So I picked the $50,000 thing we need the most.
Okay,
But in other years, I've said, well, if we can't have this, we could really use this. There isn't anything else that we need at this point that's less.
okay. Uh, okay, I understand that better. And then I'm not, I mean, we're cutting things, but I'm just like trying to look forward. And like it looks like it's mostly 100,000 a year. I initially looking at this chart thought that the 585 was for FY 28. And I was like, well, let's move some of that forward, maybe. Like,
Yeah,
um,
it's actually supposed to be
but
for 15 years. And I
mhm.
think I made a mistake with, I don't know what year it is. Um,
Yeah, it looks like
the time goes by so fast. So that says 28 to 32, and I probably needed one more column because the idea
mhm.
is to have it out 15 years.
Okay. Um, which is great and very helpful.
Mhm.
But I was just wondering, like, what if we wanted to move something up? Like, what's
Yeah.
is it like the windows and flagpoles because that's kind of small, or is it more like the roof really is
It's
item number
It
two in
would be the
the
roof, wouldn't it,
Yeah,
Catherine?
it's hard to know, but I think it's gonna be the roof. The roof will
Mhm,
be the roof will be 30 years old next year.
mhm.
And it's done okay, but it's been my experience that every time I say that, within 2 months, something falls
Right.
apart.
Jinx it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a big ticket item, and it's probably going to be next on the list.
Okay. Well, as somebody who's 31, I'm not enjoying hearing something that's 30 has reached its expiration point. But
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Wait till you hit 50, Sam. Yeah.
yeah, no, none of this has been fun. But
I,
okay, I
I have a
just
question.
go
Is
ahead.
that who's Frank? Yes.
Um,
in fiscal year 2026, we replaced two, at least one, wait a minute, the rooftop unit. Now, if you're gonna do the roof within what?
It's a different roof.
It's a different roof.
Yeah.
Is this
So
the older building or the newer building?
the older building was just done a couple in 2024. And
The roof.
that's where the chiller is going on that new roof.
Okay,
So the chiller and two rooftop units will go on that new roof. So when the back roof that's on the addition, that's just like the Avon area, goes up Avon Street, when that roof is done, that's when we'll replace those two rooftop units.
okay.
And right now, those are okay. We just had a pretty good repair done on it, so those should be okay for a little while.
Frank,
Okay,
any other
thank you.
questions?
I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you.
Just really quick, sorry, Catherine, if you don't mind kind of speaking a little more to the pitfalls of the current camera system.
I can't say what it is from a technical standpoint, but as an employee, if a police officer comes in and needs a certain amount of film, like he says something happened at a time period,
Yeah.
it's an afternoon. It's a whole afternoon to dig through that footage and try to get it to come up and try to figure out the system is supposed to record whenever there's movement, and it doesn't always do it. So and sometimes, for instance, like I will have gone to the restroom and I know I was in that hallway and I don't
Yeah.
show up on the camera. Sometimes we have trouble saving it. It's
So,
just the software. I think it's the software, but it could be multiple parts of it. Some of the cameras are better than others.
mhm. So generally it just like doesn't work well and yeah.
It doesn't work well. And if you really want good images, the newer systems are probably far superior to what we have now. All of our cameras are not even all color. Some of them are, but not all of them.
Okay. And these were put in 2016 and you said the
Yeah.
useful life is generally around 10 years anyways, 10 to 15.
That's what they say, that it's 10 years. Everything seems to have a shorter lifespan than it used to.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is that the technology, the software, progresses
It's
so
not
quickly that the
right.
hardware, it doesn't match.
Right.
Right. And then I'm kind of just curious for the incidents, so to speak, like when the police come and look for footage, is most of that inside the library or outside the library on like Main Street or a
It's
little of both?
it's probably a little of both. Yeah,
Okay.
it's probably a little of both. It's not every single day, but when you need it, you need it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
One more question. Are there multiple vendors for these kind of products?
Yes, there's a number. Tim was just talking about Genetech, and he had spoken to me about that company before. Uh, the software now that we're using is different from the hardware, so there's different pieces, but there's quite a few, and most of them, there's tons on state contracts. So I don't know who it is that Todd will recommend, but he is looking at this stuff all the time. So he tends to be a good resource for us.
So in summary, you just think that this could be a software upgrade.
It's possible that it could be. And when we looked into that, the problem we ran into is that we couldn't guarantee that new software would work with the existing cameras. So we have to get somebody who will look at the codes and say, yeah, that'll work, or yes, it won't, or this will work with it, but that one won't. So we don't know what our options are because we can't get everything on the table at the
So
same time.
how many cameras are you talking about for this $50,000 ask?
It's 32.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All within and
51.
outside the library?
No, in the
It's
license.
Inside
it's
and out.
inside and outside, but it's only the library property.
Right,
So,
right.
it's not way up Main Street or anything, but
Mhm,
and it's 3 floors.
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm familiar with these. I manage buildings, and we have systems, and the 4K cameras with color and the new DVRs. You have tons of space, so it's really critical. It's probably not just software you're going to want. You're going to want better cameras, and that's just what they sell nowadays. What used to be fancy 10 years ago with 4K is pretty much off the shelf in my experience with these systems. So Todd will definitely, I think, if we could get this approved, would definitely be able to lead you in the right direction. He did a lot of the camera work at the public safety building, I believe, for the town. So he definitely knows his stuff there. So any other questions?
So
Bill,
you would replace all of them then with
My
this?
experience is that you have to replace the whole system. Everything's
Okay.
sort of, that's my experience. They're much smaller systems, but we have some buildings that have upwards of 20 cameras, so not too far off the 32. And it gets into the DVR and the DVR and the wires all work with their particular cameras. And it's been my experience that we usually just do a wholesale replacement. It's just the easiest way out at the end of the day, and then you have nice clear pictures, and you can watch people get into trouble much easier. So they're not as
Good.
fuzzy when you're rewatching the video of
Yeah.
someone doing
And
something
and
stupid.
and is there
So,
any kind of service contract with these?
I think that varies. Sometimes there's a service contract, you can get it or not. Sometimes there's a license fee. I think if you go into the cloud, there's usually license fees there, and we don't want a cloud-based system. We just want something in-house.
Agreed.
Phil, or Catherine, do you have a sense of like the useful life of some of the newer products out there? Is it still about the same 10 to 15 years, or probably hard to
I
say?
have 4K. I'm trying to think when I put the last 4K. It's probably around, I don't know, the last one I did was probably around 8 or 9 years ago. It's still fine, I think. I'm gonna jinx myself like by saying
I know,
anything, but
yeah, sorry.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never had I generally only till they start having problems with I don't know what engineers or software people put for useful life. Maybe it's 10 years for camera systems because it's technology.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else for Catherine? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Have a good
Thank
Thank
night.
you.
you.
Good night, Catherine.
Okay. So first two departments. Um, is there anything we should talk about while it's fresh, or do you want to go? I figure what we would do after we met with them is, since we got the first look at the list, is do a run through the whole list, since we haven't done that yet. But if there's something fresh in someone's mind from anything just discussed, let's keep it open for a second and see if there's any discussion, or do people okay with us moving to the FY27 list?
So Phil, one thing I was going to bring up, and I was hesitant to bring it up with each of them, but I assume when you're in touch with them, just to make sure, obviously, if these do get funded elsewhere, that they just make us aware of it, right? So that we don't kind of run into what happened last year would be my only, if we just
Excellent
let them know
point.
that.
That's an excellent point because I think that what happened last year was
Yeah.
really threw us a curveball and it made our jobs a little bit more difficult.
Yep. We'll make sure. I think it was discussed. I think Joe may have mentioned that way at the beginning with these requests. But we can obviously reaffirm to be in communication with us if anything changes in their requests.
Um, yeah, the
Perfect.
only I want to know about that feasibility study and if it really should be going through a different committee or if other committees need to weigh in. Um,
Well, P-
or that
PBC is
there's
the town-owned buildings, and it's 100,000. Joe, you know, because of the salt shed, I think originally was going to be, and then it got absorbed into PVC. Is it? Um, I don't know. It came up, and so that's why I wanted to raise it, just because it is a feasibility study, and in my tenure, we've done several of those through the PVC on, that have eventually turned into projects over a period of time. As Sam
Mhm.
said, or someone said, it's a first step in a long process. But
Shouldn't the school committee have first a first crack at this? As far as, I mean, that wouldn't they be the ones that look at the strategy, for example?
maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a question I was thinking of because I'm on the other committee, so it could be.
Yeah. I have a sort of strategy question on this, and it wasn't appropriate to ask them because I don't think they're at that stage. But have they ruled out the possibility of the Yule School as a replacement or as a supplement to the Greenwood, and therefore it should be included in the feasibility study?
Uh, you would do a feasibility study for a particular piece of property, is my experience. So you wouldn't combine a feasibility study for two different properties, and you'd have to pose that question to the school committee.
Yeah, okay, that's what I figured. It was a school
Yeah.
committee issue. Okay.
I would guess if they still own that building, or if it's the town of Wakefield. We asked. I tried to get information last year on the Yule and didn't get I didn't get a lot of good information of actually who owns, like, who, because it's leased, the Yule.
Yeah.
So it's not in our purview as a committee. It's to look at requests submitted and make a determination under a budget, not to really discuss possible other projects that aren't on
Right.
our list. But I would say, for the question of the Yule School and future use, would probably start at town hall.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Quickly before we move on too, I noticed on our list, the library has an HVAC placeholder of 100K.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, can we just delete that, or?
So,
What
yeah,
list?
that's
What?
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That's a me thing. So,
Oh, okay.
that number will be dramatically different, but DPW stepped in. We're helping Catherine get those units up on the roof. The one thing, as we were getting the latest and greatest pricing to it, I had a question on how much of the cribbing needed to change, which is basically the structure that holds it up. And then if any tariff stuff was going to come into play with that. I don't expect that to be the case at all, but by the time I'm ready to go through my stuff with you folks, which won't be tomorrow, it'll be one of the subsequent meetings after the fact, I'm cautiously optimistic that that will be able to just erase that. But I threw it in there just in case as a placeholder. So, God forbid the news that we got wasn't the greatest. At least, we had something plugged in there that we could work with or work
Gotcha.
down to. But same thing with the senior center, same exact things going on there. So we're in the middle of bidding all of it at the moment. So it should all be in within the next 7 to 10 days.
Okay, thanks.
Is this a good segue to open the request list? Joe, do you want me to? Well, I can pull it. I can pull it up. I have it up. Whatever you want to pull it up. Does it matter?
I got it in front of me. If you want to make me the host,
Hold on, working on that, Conway.
I might be able to actually.
Here,
Okay.
you got it. Large.
Here we
Just tell me
go.
when.
Keep on going. 88 font. Here we go. Now,
Are we too big?
yeah, if you could scroll over a little to the left to see column A, I think we might be good.
All right, now you're
Here we
in.
go.
Is that okay for everyone?
Good for me.
Okay. Joe, you want to take it? Maybe just do maybe a once through from top to bottom.
Yeah, I'll just do kind of the same tour, for lack of a better term, as we did last time. Interrupt, stop whenever we're going over it. You're not going to throw me off. So top sections again, all the committed projects we have that were leased, financed, spread out over a multi-year. The Genetec cameras is actually this top one here that we've been talking about. and then all the rest of anything that's outstanding as far as financing payments. There's mostly some of the big ticket DPW equipment. We've taken that approach with just to kind of spread out the load a little bit on some of that. I will say my first impression, my opinion for what it's worth, is seeing what folks had submitted that was compiled into this. I gather that everybody's kind of reading the tea leaves out there and understands the state of the economy. So this list is a little smaller from a total, starting dollar value than it normally is. It's, at least a third bigger usually. So if that tells you anything. Fleet's pretty self-explanatory. The heavy hitters in this one is usually DPW and the fire department. Most of our stuff in here, everything's on a depreciation schedule, so it's based on time. Every year we take everything that's timed out to what we'd like to ultimately replace it with, and we'll assess the condition. And there are some things that we can move along and don't need acutely at the moment. And then there are other things, that don't have the luxury of being able to be passed on, depending on how they're used and things like that. In this, obviously, the activity bus that we talked about, and then with the police department, there's standing patrol cars, which the chief will speak to tomorrow. This year, we have new administration at the fire department, so they did a lot of work on a lot of things that they have. Threw in, a lot more than I think they were customary to seeing, which they can go over when they're with us tomorrow too. Sorry, I lost my cursor. There we go. Buildings, like I said, placeholder here. I fully expect this number to be probably 0, to be honest with you. But I just wanted to make sure there was something in there, just God forbid. Catherine's camera upgrade is in here. Most of this list is actually from Public Works and the school department. Some windows left over at Town Hall, the last couple to do here. Some HVAC work at Town Hall. The Senior Center. So one of the things when the ARPA funding and everything was put together and the scope was put together for that project, I wasn't in the meeting that pared that down. I know that HVAC was brought up in the beginning, and the approach was to get the most, that you can get out of it as far as the condition of the walls and the floors and things like that. They were downright pretty ugly, the way they were left, when that first renovation stopped. Same thing now. So Karen Burke got some grant money to do some air conditioning on the second floor. We think it'll cover that. What we don't know is how much of addressing the third floor we're actually going to be able to accomplish. So as this tightens up, this number here is subject to change too, and I think that will end up going south. So that should be able to drop and free up some funds, excuse me, for something else. Public safety building, mostly just some repointing and shoring up some of the garage floor that's in there. 2 that have come up before, insulation and siding. So 5 Common Street and 11 Lafayette Street, for those who may not know. They're the second and third building that are kind of on the campus of Town Hall. So one to the north facing Common Street, and the other one is actually in the back of the parking lot. I know at least for 5 Common, that's the original siding to the building that's on that. That's had quite a bit of work going on over there. For the Civic Center, I'll get into it more when I do, my piece, but the basement door, this is actually the door at the level facing the Galvin Fields, the food pantry entrances. The room divider and mezzanine curtain is essentially what drops in the center of the basketball courts. And then with that, while we're up in the air, if we were going to do that project, something to neaten up kind of the aesthetics and the way that the mezzanine looks right now. DPW, so we're looking for 2 more garage doors. Those are the last 2 that we have to replace down there at 35 North Ave. Now, when we get into the Woodville School and the Dahlberg School, full transparency, we don't expect all of these to be able to be accomplished. Really what this is, as far as the RTUs are concerned, The buildings are 25 years old, give or take a year or two here or there. Some of this factory equipment is original, and it's just getting to that point where in its expected useful life, it's up and ready, to be considered for replacement. Out of all of them on this, I would say that the Woodville School RTU, our HVAC staff would rank number one. And then, the Dull Bear would follow after that. The gas train, that was a little bit of jargon that I didn't know, but essentially what this is, some more piping that needs to get done, or some repiping that needs to get done. Where the gas service enters into the building, and flows through the building to the boiler itself. We have another small water heater at the Galvin, the feasibility study that Tim and the folks at the schools had mentioned, their fly system, and then the door enclosure and replacement that the schools had talked about. Field Park and Cemetery, intentionally light again. Again, being aware of what the world is right now. I'm not going to come back with the cemetery project that we've had on for the last couple of years. I don't think the timing's right for that at the moment. But one we did see last year that we talked about that ended up on the cuttering floor relatively late, if memory serves me right, is a renovation to the team room up at Landrigan Field. So basically just be a refresh of the whole thing, paint, fixtures, some of the amenities inside of that, because it's getting a little old up that way. Miscellaneous, like we talked about, is kind of like your catch-all for everything. If you haven't had the opportunity to read the police chief stuff, if you're looking for service pistols this year, so the quote that they've included is for 65 of those that they'll go through some more detail tomorrow. This two-gun paint machine. So one of the things that we had discovered and learned actually during COVID, we were having trouble with getting some of the folks that we used to depend on to do some of our line painting to come in. And we actually took all of it over in-house. So everything with the exception of the center line of the street and the fog line, which is the white line basically near the curb, our staff does by hand. We do all of it. One of the things that would speed them up and help them along, some of the stop bars now are wider because of the way the traffic rules and order change. So this machine would give them a bigger paint pattern. Unfortunately, we can't retrofit what we have to be able to do it. And what it really would equate to is having a larger machine, more paint could get down faster. It would require them less time throughout the season to do all the parking stalls and stop bars and things like that that we do. Our buildings group was looking to see if the potential to get another platform lift. We had one in the past, and it went out to pasture, basically due to age and condition. And at the time, we did not get anything to replace it. We are finding ourselves renting them more and more and more. So that's in here. The fire department, Phil, I don't know if my email made sense, but in that PDF that they sent, if you scroll towards the end of it, Deputy Chief Walsh included some background and information on these positive pressure ventilation fans. It's basically if you get smoke in your house, the unit that they put at the door or window to essentially, give your house an oil change related to the air. The rafts are self-explanatory for ice and things like that. Same thing with portable radios and flashlights. I'm not sure if Captain Hudson, who does all of our fire alarm stuff, will be in with us tomorrow. He may be. I know he has FinCom this week, I believe, too. If not, he'll be in when I go to talk about the two pieces that they have from the fire alarm standpoint. I think one of them, the chime tone, I think what you'll see if you read into the packet that was sent out, instead of ringing the alarms at the middle of the night full blast and causing that spike in adrenaline and blood pressure and all those things that those guys and gals go through, be to retrofit that and kind of ramp it up. Supposedly the health benefits to that are worth doing, but I'll let them talk to that. related to IT. The network switch is in here, and the card readers are in here. I did talk to Todd today, Todd Bowden, who's our network manager here, from an IT perspective, and he'll be coming along too. I don't think he'll be in probably until the night that I go, but he's fine tuning some stuff, and I kind of preempted him because I didn't understand really what the network switch did. So it would be helpful if he could come in and kind of lay that out, um, under his expertise, kind of like Tim had just
Yeah,
done.
Joe, I think it would be great because a couple of years ago, like you mentioned it in the lease, there was the $400,000 ask for the Gentech card reader system,
Yep.
and I think it was town-wide. So I wonder if that was the other part. Tim or Christine mentioned that the town had like another part to that, and I wonder if that's what they meant from a couple of years ago, or if there's more coming. Um, or if
No,
there's more coming, because this says it's from the WPS, not from even though it's under IT, it's not from town IT. So just, I am curious about that, what we
is
approved two fiscal years ago, and what this is, and how it all works, and if this is sort of it, if this will take care of the whole town.
No, so the 2 years ago, so the Genetech system that they had, they went through every building that they had and updated their whole camera infrastructure. The high school being the only one that wasn't, because that is being done with the building project that's going on. What this one is, to my knowledge or my understanding of it, the network switches have something to do with the Wi-Fi that's in the buildings and the connectivity to it. And then the network switch is one piece of multiple pieces that make up the building infrastructure for IT network and Wi-Fi capability. So I think these are kind of the points that all the other intricacies to this come back to. This would be, a starting point. Think of it, this is the foundation of everything else that exists. But he's going to put something together for us on that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And then last but certainly not least, basically just smaller versions of the tax levy stuff above, water and sewer. We had some prior year leases in each, mostly vehicle related. Sewer's a little high. We bought a vacuum to help us do some excavation. A couple of vehicles. We do have two pieces of SCADA control, which allows us remote monitoring and control of our two, I'd say most important, pumping station at the corner of Farm and Water Street. That's where everything that goes down the drain heads to before it gets pushed to the MWRA. And then on the water side, it'll be our tank. The folks down there are looking to see if we can get a new light tower. We always include something every year, kind of an unanticipated capital, which we call system improvements, like I mentioned. So basically what this is an ability if something fails that's expensive, whether it be a gate or some other component, like we need a new precast manhole or vault. We have some funding available to do that. We generally wait through most of the year to see, kind of how luck will impact us and, what our fortune is. And then once we get out, towards the weather breaking, if we haven't had anything that became more of a immediate need, then we would go after, the infinite list of different things that we have out there that need to get replaced. Basically the same thing with water, with the addition of maybe some extra hydrants this year, just so we have some more in stock. But that's kind of the quick, dirty rundown of everything, at least from my lens at this point.
Thanks, Joe. Wondering, I don't see much on the field side of things. I know we've done the playgrounds. I'm curious on the Galvin fields. They have to be up for full refresh, and I know that's a big ticket item. They're probably well past their real, filling in gaps and stuff is only maintenance. So and then the Dolbeer field, without the lack of the high school, without the Beasley, is really taxing whatever grassy areas this town does has, as I'm sure you appreciate, because you guys have to maintain them all. But like, Yule Field has been up in in the air. The one with the dirt, where's the BMX, the one with the BMX track next to it? There's
Sullivan.
It's all
the
over.
Doe Bear. The Doe Bear is just mud at this point. So like, does the feel like the fields part, I guess, is that the FPC? Is that like, is there a capital, is there a like a 5 year, like 10-year plan? Like, how do you guys figure out when, use can be so infrequent or crazy like it has been? When are we gonna start addressing those things? And would we ever see that in this request, or are those so costly they would be a warrant? Like because I haven't seen any since I've been on the committee. So I'm just curious when we think we're gonna start seeing some of those like field upgrades or repairs.
No, we might see one actually get added into this that Dennis is cooking up right now. So most of the seed and things like that, most of that gets absorbed through our operating budget. So, whether we're plugging it and seeding it and aerating it to do that, that's something we constantly battle. It doesn't matter where. We're always doing it throughout the town. Obviously, the heavy use and things like that, you're going to end up seeing more need get put towards those places, like the Doll Bear and things like that. As far as the turf fields go, my hope would be that there may be the way to slip in Landrigan Field when Beasley is getting addressed. Hopefully, you can just march whoever's doing the project up the hill and see if they can accomplish that. That's the oldest of the turf fields, and probably it was brand new. Everybody was on that thing, and it's time there with Mullen and Galvin following shortly there afterwards at the junior high. So you're probably a couple of years out on the ones at the junior high, but you're probably 2 to 3 years at most with Landrigan. The number to do that will probably take you into warrant article territory, though. I think you're going to be probably north of 600,000 to basically recarpet that.
To what, full fresh, what, the Landrigan? Dan, for some reason you got a second one logged on. Can you log off one of your profiles?
I'm on twice.
Yeah, for some reason you just had a second one get added on, and now it's a little
Uh,
echoey.
is it still there?
It's still there.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah. Any idea, Joe, on the what it's going to take to do the Galvin fields? Because those get constant use.
It's about the same. You're somewhere between a half a million and probably seven. Um, Luckily, as long as the subsurface is good, all the drainage is good, it's brand new. It shouldn't be too crazy as far as, all the extras that you may have to do to it. But when we looked at the Landrigan ones 2 years ago now, I believe, just to get that conversation started, obviously with Beasley going the way that that's going, they're all basically about the same. So in that wheelhouse. We'd asked at the time, if you did two right next to each other, is there economy of scale or scope there that you'd pick up and make it more advantageous, than doing one or the other. And at that point in time, it wasn't, dramatically different. As far as what that is,
Yeah.
Moving forward, I don't know, but
Okay, it's just because we have these turf fields, we have to maintain them to certain standards, right? And so that's why I'm just curious how we've gotten by certain levels of time, and it's not on like the plan. You know what I mean? Like cost is cost. Like it could be upwards of seven figures, the way construction costs are, even if the sub base is totally fine, it's still a huge project. So just because, the use of these fields is exponentially more those last 2 years, because of the project. So things are just getting even more and more compact. Grass fields, they get muddy, but it's always earth. It's more of these turf fields I'm curious about in town, about when we think those are going to be coming up. It's just I was just curious. So
no. So just the
yeah,
only last thing I got on that. So we also do similar to the way that the grass is treated. We have an operating line in our park budget, for to re-rubber a field, about a field and a half a year. So we're constantly, refreshing that to make sure that component to it outside of, the green fabric, the fake grass is fresh, and that the testing, the GMAX testing that gets done on that
It's right.
employment
It's the
stadium.
G-Max, right? Exactly. The compaction
Yeah.
and someone falls
Yeah,
on it.
so
So,
that's one Dennis does yearly, every year in the spring.
okay,
We
good.
take one, he works with Dan, with the athletic director, figure out what they think their needs are based on what they're hearing, and then obviously the physical conditions that, our folks see, make sure that's maintained from that point.
Okay. Um, I will say one thing, then I'll be quiet and I'll open it up. We did ask when we first Joe spoke about getting ready for this season. We said, listen, we have to get requests in. So just a reminder to department heads that you speak to, like we should have already had the request on this list. So if there's something holding it up, like you put a placeholder for the library. So at least there's something we know, like something could be coming down the pike. If Dennis is working on something, we should see it on this already. If there's any other IT like Todd that's not, like we should have already seen this. So I can send a message, and if I have it, I probably I'm going to draft the message, and then I'm going to add in what was brought up earlier about if any requests are made, if any changes, we need to know about it immediately too. We need to be able to get on this and can't keep on having things added on, and it's like we have a short period of time. So I'm just speaking to people listening, not to anyone in particular on this call. So. Um, okay. Does anyone else have anything to ask or say about this list at this point?
Bill, can you hear me?
Yes, Bill.
Just a quick question, Joe. So some of the lower dollar fire department things, I feel like through the years being on the finance committee, really seeing a lot of those things funded through grants. So I guess I know it's small dollars. I'm a little surprised to see them there, and or they get contributions from different folks or companies and stuff like that. Just again, I don't know what others' experiences are with that, but I thought I'd mention it. The other thing, just kind of curious with the revamping of the team room, have you ever collaborated with the Voc School on a project like something like that?
We have before, the Voc ended up being pretty instrumental in the dugouts that were done at Walsh. So that's certainly something that we can look into.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I think it's given the proximity and everything, and
yeah, it's an easy one right down the hill for sure.
yeah. So I think that might be I don't know. Is that a school thing to do, or is that you, or has anybody thought of
Um,
something like this?
no,
Just
so this one came from our buildings group here, but we can make the call to them and see what their
yeah,
schedule is.
just 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 a suggestion.
No, that's a good one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. It's a good point, and we brought up Sam may remember. Sam, I think, has a really better memory than me. We were using what around 10 grand last year? Anything under 10, or was it 15? We had a number that we
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
used and just
we started at 10 and just like cut all the stuff under that. And then I think we had to drift it up to just like keep coming up with to get closer because we were dealing with like getting from 8 million down to 2 million. So this time that we're at only 4, like, a
yeah,
lot
like
of those, a lot of the $4 million of the $10,000 asks have already been pretty much cut. So that's
sort of
helpful.
not even
But
put on there to begin with. Yeah, right. That's what I remembered as well. So it's a good point, Bill. Thank you about this.
What is the total number of the ask right now?
We have, well, it's a $3.9 million, the full list. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
Yeah, 3.9.
and our number is what, 1.9?
2 million less the leases. So yeah, it's FY2. I'll tell you in a second. It's 1, 2, 3 minus
Sorry,
366.
1.3.
1.6 million plus the leases equals 2 million for FY27. So we like 1.633.
And what was
You
it
know,
last year?
like 2.1 less the leases. Oh no, it was, yeah, it was 2.1 plus including the leases last year. And the leases last year for 26 was about 372,000, something like, yeah.
Yeah.
And the leases count toward our 2 million.
It does.
Correct.
Yeah,
That all gets added towards that bottom line. So we have
Yep.
about 1.6. I know we just got this list earlier today, so everyone, and this is the first time we've been through it, so we'll let people digest it. And we're meeting in a couple weeks, again on a Monday, Tuesday. We're meeting tomorrow, obviously, and can discuss it further. So, yeah, I was surprised in my world, to see a small list like this scares me, because that means next year it's going to be like double. Like what's missing, because on general we're seeing $7-8 million a year in original asks, with the 2 million. So it's interesting, that we only saw this much. So hopefully it's not because we have a bunch of people with late requests, and that's why I'm a little nervous about that. And just want to get word out that, like, if you're going to request something, we need to know about it like a month ago. So, or it's not, it may not be considered, it's just because we have all these other asks, we have to start deliberating. So that's why I'm a little nervous, just because it's a very small total off what we're usually seeing at this first meeting.
it might be that everybody's gotten the word, excuse me, that we're going to shrink the budget a bit.
Well, we have about the same budget. 2 million's about where we've been hovering for 11 years. So our budget, it's the power of money has gone down, as we all know. Like, you get a lot less for 2 million than you did 10 years ago. So that's for sure. But whether or not we have a budget or not, there's still things that are falling apart and need replacement. So I'm hoping that stuff is not being
Yeah, ignored.
left out. It's always good to at least put it on there and at least track it. So
I think things should always be in the list.
right.
And like you said, Phil, and I feel like that's what Joe has communicated to the finance in the past, is that, and that gives, this committee some history of knowing how long things have been there and knowing some of the potential severities. Joe Conway, did any word come down from the town administrator to, cut back on what was being submitted? Is there,
No.
to Phil's
No.
theme here, I mean, are you surprised, Joe?
A little bit. I think some of the things that we see that can eat up a good amount of this, if DPW has some big machines, I mean, they're definitely not cheap. And we have had, in the 6 years I've been doing this, I feel like we've had a bunch come through almost every year annually. Again, based on depreciation and timing, we don't have.
Oh, no, the DPW is not shy. I'm not talking about you.
I'll spend all two ourselves if we need to.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's been nothing that's come down from D. Casey in a role and say.
No, absolutely not.
Again, Phil, I think that word, should go out to people. I mean, did we hear that from the library that she took things off that should be on? I
Yes,
can't.
you did.
So that's not the right approach.
Yeah,
It really
exactly.
isn't.
We should see it and then discuss it, and then at least it gets tracked.
Yeah. So
I think she pushed it back. We could still see it with the library. She
Okay.
does a great job of giving us a long projection.
Yeah.
And like getting a sense of it. And based on that projection, it's coming in at about 100,000 a year. It's a little heavy in the front because of the roof replacement. But when you're looking at the number versus the number of years, it's like 100K a year. But it's helpful that she's got it. She's got some outlay happening.
Yeah.
Phil, would somebody be able to look at the list from last year or the year before and, look at just what's fallen off that wasn't funded and say, huh?
Yeah, like, so Bill, if you see the screen, so I keep a master sheet of basically every year's initial list and then what our final FY is. So at least it tracks, I've been doing it for a few years. I had trouble going back earlier because I
No,
didn't have the
even a
originals,
few
but
even a few years is great.
we have been, yeah. So there is a way, and we reference this a lot. Like, wasn't this asked, or did this came up before?
Okay.
This is like the third year in a row. Maybe we should approve it this year. It really does help
Okay.
because if they don't mention it, we at least can kind of look back at previous requests and pull it out of our hat. And most of us, once someone in their group usually remembers we talked about it too. There's a lot of good um, archival memories in this group as well. So.
I know a
Um,
huge piece of it from last year too was the ladder truck that I think was like 1.6 mil.
yeah.
And I know we determined that was outside of our realm. Does anyone know if they got that funded somehow?
It did. It went to warrant. It went to town meeting and got approved.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was its own warrant article.
Yeah, that was a fun way to cut a nice big chunk out of our request. We were just like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
That was a good
that
one.
was like 70% of our budget or something like that. Maybe
Yeah, like
50.
we had eight. Yeah, so I'm just looking. Yeah, we had almost $8 million worth of asks. That last year, and so that's where um that's where I'm just pulling up the sheet. So if everyone can, I'll blow it up. So this is fiscal year 27, 2 million. We have 3.9, almost $4 million worth of ask. If you look back in previous years, like, yeah, last year, 7.9, but like 1.3, I think was the pumper, 9, 6. There are a couple years in the past where it is, but if you look generally, the average is a lot more. So yeah, I think just a reminder. The other thing, and again, I don't know if it's really in our charge as a committee, but it came up last year when I had to present to the town council, is there were questions presented to me about whether or not every department has a capital plan, looking out 10, 15, 20 years. Um, we only know what's presented to us. I know like the library has always been good every year about showing sort of future expenses, but um, it's something maybe we should ask when department heads come in if they have a current plan. Because it's not really up to us to police it or to prepare those for the departments, but it was a question that was raised by town council last year. So just something that stuck in my head.
It's a good skill. It's a good question. The question is, and I don't mean this mean spirited, does that skill exist within some of these departments for somebody to do that kind of analysis?
It's a complicated thing to do. It's not
It
a
is.
it's not
Yeah.
a it's not a simple thing to
No.
do a capital. You have to be trained. You have to have the knowledge to put one of those studies together, and that's the thing. It's not like just someone in the back office throwing some numbers down. You really have to be on top of everything. So, just mention it. I know, Catherine always shows hers. It's helpful. And what anything anyone can show us going into the future is always helpful to us, I think, to see what could be coming down the pike. So, but we'll get a message out to everyone, folks. We'll just remind people we need to see it, and if there's any changes that they have to let us know right away. So,
All right. So,
um,
so Phil, you'll be sending out some of these attachments then to
I
everybody.
will. I have a note tomorrow when I get. I'll make sure all I have you, Lori, Joe, on
Yeah.
FinCom, Marine, D. I'll make sure everyone has all the attachments we've been sent so far.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And that master list that Joe just went through as well, of course.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anything else? We have a meeting tomorrow night, 6:30, please, on Zoom.
I have, there's a housekeeping thing. I did not get a link to this meeting in an email. I had to go to the town
Sherry,
website.
you have Sherry Dalton's email?
I do somewhere, but
My bet is she probably sent it to your old email because you changed an email last year or the year before. You had a different email that you wanted to start getting used. My bet
yeah,
is that
yes.
it was sent to an old email, Frank.
All right.
I'm not getting emails with the links from Sherry. I've been also going to um, the agenda on the town website to
Oh, you
just
guys
get the
should
link.
just reach out. Yeah, I'll send an email and copy both of you on it to Sherry. If not tonight, I'll do it first thing in the morning and
Okay,
make
thank
sure.
you.
I'll make sure she has everyone's right emails. Okay.
Yep.
Is anyone else having
Um,
that? Is anyone else? Is everyone else getting the? Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
we'll get
Yeah.
that.
Fine.
Yeah.
Right, it was just the
I was just,
calendar invite,
I was just
and then
looking,
if you accept the calendar invite, it'll go into
yeah,
your
yeah,
calendar.
I,
Yeah.
I
I
was just
didn't get a
looking at the
calendar.
meeting invite, and your names are on the meeting invite.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I think it
Maybe
might be an
I
email
didn't
thing.
see it. Maybe it's an older email and I didn't respond to that
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Um,
the emails I use for you, Sam and Frank, are the
yeah.
ones you want used, though, right?
Correct. I
Like the
get
one I
all your
sent.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I'll send it. I'll get you guys on a message with Sherry. We'll get it figured out right away.
Okay. Well, for tomorrow, I have a family obligation, so I will not be at the meeting tomorrow night. But this,
Okay. And tomorrow night we have fire and police. Is there any
yeah.
questions, Sam? Do you want?
I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I will send you a direct thing if I have any
Okay, we'll
questions.
do our best. The fire, there's a lot to the fire request. I couldn't quite piece it together, so I think they're going to present
Mhm.
maybe a couple different plans. So but we'll see. So, and
Yeah.
it will be recorded, so I guess you could
Yeah.
watch it at your leisure
Yeah.
afterwards if that was your thing. So,
Yeah.
okay, great. So,
And
can
too bad.
anyone want to make a motion to adjourn at 8:21 p.m.?
I will do that. I make a motion to adjourn at 8:21 p.m.
I second.
Okay, all in favor? Press leave the meeting. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you
Have a good
tomorrow.
one.
Thank you.